A few weeks ago, I decided to put my prostate health to the test. I didn't stop at one test, I had three. I had a digital exam, yep, one of those. I had a PSA blood test, and a third test that I believe is going to be a game changer for the accuracy of measuring whether you have prostate cancer or not. So please stick around to the end of the video and I'll be discussing it in detail. I'm going to give you today all the results of the tests that I had. I'm going to discuss what those results mean. And I'm going to ask the question that every man over a certain age has to ask himself. How do I know that my prostate is healthy? I'm also going to briefly touch upon recent government decisions about mass screening on prostate cancer for men. And actually, I'm going to discuss why I think the government were right. Here are my blood test results for my PSA. Let's start at the beginning with the standard blood test, the PSA blood test at 0.81. For my age group, I'm 63. It needs to be below 4, which of course it is by quite some margin. In younger men, it's generally below 3. And as you get older, it can be below 5 or even 6 as you get very old. And the free PSA here at 0.27 is also a good result. The free PSA is measured with the bound PSA. They're the same test. The bound PSA is more likely to be cancer and the free PSA is more likely to be benign. But the interesting thing here is that when you divide that by that and you get that number there needs to be above a certain level. The fact that it's higher is great. So let's have a look at what the doctor said to me. The first result there, the standard PSA test, very low for my age. It's very low full stop, so pleased with that. The second one is good, and the third result, which of course is the second result with the two together, is the higher the number the better. So the conclusion from my blood test for PSA is number 1, very low. Number 2 would be expected. Number 3 is reassuring, and then I'll come on to my digital exam later. All of that's great. And what it's a testament to for me is I've been doing a few videos now on chronic inflammation and sort of healthy diets and exercise and sleep and all this sort of stuff. And I've sort of lived that life. And I've been very proud to live that life. And this is actually a reflection of that. So I'm really pleased with these, but it was sort of expected, but you never really know. And it's a testament to what I'm trying to get across on this channel, because what I'm trying to do is to make everyone who's watching an expert in their own body. I consider myself an expert in my own body so that I know when something's maybe to worry about. I know when to get tested. I know early intervention might be worthwhile. But above all else, I want to cut through the science as opposed to what's being marketed, because the two are very, very different. And so much on YouTube and on social media is professional marketing when actually the science doesn't back it up. And I want to cut through that, and I want you to be able to cut through that as well. So that's the PSA test. I'm going to talk about my digital exam now, and I'm going to just sort of freewheel this, as it were, because all of this is a bit of a freewheeling one as opposed to me actually bothering to rehearse, which I'm not going to do on this because it was such a personal experience. I think it comes across better if I freewheel. So the digital exam, I requested it. I went along a few weeks ago, and guess what, men? It was absolutely fine. If the digital exam is what's holding you back from being tested, don't let it hold you back. It's barely even uncomfortable. Now, it wasn't painful. On a scale of 1 to 10, there was no pain at all. On a discomfort scale of 1 to 10, it was about a 3. Basically, the doctor, as you know, he gloves up, he puts me on the side, trousers and underpants down, knees up to the chest, and in he goes. He rummages around for about 10 seconds and that's it, it's done. As I say, mildly uncomfortable, but really my overriding thought while he was doing it was, oh, he's got a crap job, hasn't he? Pun intended. You know, there I am lying on my side, lily white butt sticking out, and he's got to go in and rummage around inside my rectum and do what he's got to do. So why am I worried about that? He's the one that should be worried because he's the one with quite literally the shitty job. So when I came out of it, we sat down and I asked him, about doing the test. Does he do many? What did he think of it? And it was like he was having a cup of tea. He's like, well, I'm a doctor. I've probably done 1,000 of these in the last 5 years. He's so used to it. And again, I'm sort of trying to transpose some of my embarrassment onto him. He didn't care at all. And why should I? So, and I didn't really care either. But I did ask him, what did he want to find from the digital exam? Because I wasn't overly impressed with what I've researched about it in terms of its efficacy. And he said, yeah, absolutely fine. The digital exam is never to be an exam on its own. It should always come with a PSA test or this third test that I'm going to talk about in a minute, because in his opinion, that the digital exam did two things. If he goes in and he feels a soft, squidgy prostate through the wall of the rectum, that's good. That's a good sign. If he does the same thing and that prostate feels stiff and hard, then that could be a real problem. And often when he's done that, and he did sort of indicate that he had done it in the past, obviously without giving any details, that means a stage 4, almost certainly a stage 4 cancerous tumour. And by then you're sort of terminally ill. So in that sense, the digital exam is either too little or it's too late, but it gives you some indication. The second thing he looked for was when you touch the prostate through the rectum, there is a sort of ridge like that. And if you can feel that ridge, then it means the prostate is of normal size. If that ridge has filled out through swelling or through an internal tumour, then it smooths out and he feels a smooth surface. And that might be a little bit more of an accurate result. And if that's what he gets, then you go for a blood test. And after the blood test, if the blood test is also worrying, you then go for an MRI scan. But actually, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I did the digital exam because I wanted to report on it honestly, what it was like, so that men are not put off by going to have one. But actually, 9 times out of 10, you'll never have one anyway. The standard treatment now is a PSA test. And if that is a bit higher, or if that is a bit of a problem, then you go for an MRI scan. And the MRI scan will pick up very small tumours and all would be good if you've caught it early. Now, third test. All of that was good, but there's a third test out there that's one of the more recent tests. It's come out of Oxford University Sciences. It's going to be the standard test for prostate detection, prostate cancer detection, very, very soon. What's holding it back is it's very expensive. I paid for it privately. It was £900. My PSA I paid privately as well because I wanted it done in my own time frame. That was just over £100. So even if you go to your GP or do it privately, it's very affordable. The third test is really very unaffordable for most people. But I wanted to be early into it because I think early adopters of new technology, as it were, help bring the prices down in the longer term. And I've got the money to be able to do that. So that was part of why I did it. But I also wanted the test anyway because of its accuracy. It's accurate in terms of detecting potential prostate cancer issues 92 to 94% of the time. And that's way, way higher than the PSA test. Now, what is it? Right, here we go. Woo! It is very simply the prostate screening episwitch test, or the PSE. I want to put more information up here, but when the results came back, that's all I got. That is literally me writing out what I got on my email, and it just said I have a low likelihood of any prostate cancer cells in my body. Now, the PSE test measures epigenetic changes of gene regulation in blood cells that are associated with prostate cancer. So it's an extremely accurate test. And the most important thing about it is, if that comes as it's come with me like that, I'm virtually guaranteed to be clear. And I say virtually deliberately because we're dealing with the human body here and we're dealing with biology. Nothing's 100%. But as far as I can take it, I've got a healthy prostate and all is good. And my lifestyle leading up to now has helped with that, which is why I'm sort of proud of these results. But what if I came out with that instead of that, but I had those PSA results that you saw that were very low. And this is where the PSE test is so good, because the whole point of it is to be able to detect very early cancers just by a blood test. So if that says you've got a high likelihood of potential prostate cancer, but your measurement was only that, then what it means is it's capturing a little bit of activity that might actually be cancerous. Even if this doesn't measure up, the PSE test will more accurately ascertain that activity, although it's very low, will likely be cancerous. You can then go for an MRI scan and it can be captured at a very early stage where the treatment can be very quick, much less invasive and much more successful. So it's a brilliant test to have in conjunction with a PSA test. However, my doctor also said, even if the PSE said it's a high likelihood, it still doesn't mean you've definitely got cancer. It just means you need more tests. And the next test with all these things, if there's a little bit of doubt, is an MRI scan. So the digital exam is never really mentioned. As I say, I only really did it to sort of have a report on it. And frankly, it was, as I said, it was absolutely fine. So that's all good. And that should clarify why it's so important to do. So I want to just talk about now the UK government and the fact that they turned down the mass screening of men for a PSA test for sort of prostate cancer screening. I actually agree with the government, because if they mass screen so many men, the costs would be very, very high and they would only capture a few men anyway. But I'll tell you why I agree with the government, because I want to now have a go at all you men out there. Look what I've done. I've paid out over £1,000 on having 3 tests. One of them a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit embarrassing for me, not the doctor, as I've mentioned. But I had all of that done. I had the PSE test done. I can afford it, but it still hurts. But I had it done because I want to try and emphasise to everyone out there that there's nothing to be scared of with any of these 3 tests. So why do you need a government to tell you to go and have a test? Why do you need a letter coming through your letterbox saying, "Dear Mr. Bloggs, you now need a PSA test. Please go to your surgery or ring your surgery and they'll give you a blood test"? What the bloody hell's that all about? Do you need the NHS to be your parent? Do you need them to pat you on the head and take you along to the surgery to have a PSA test? Where are all the independent thinking men out there? Like I did, I just took myself along because reading in the press and all that sort of thing about men caught by prostate cancer with no symptoms or with some symptoms, it was like, well, I ought to get myself tested. It's all out there. So guess what? I went along independently and that's what I did. Why don't you do that? Do you need the government to sort of act as your father, to drag you along kicking and screaming? No, for God's sake, do it yourself. Take yourself in hand. You're responsible for your own health. I'm trying to turn this channel into something where I'm asking you to become, or I'm trying to help you become an expert in your own body. But that means also acting independently when things aren't going right. We rely too much on the NHS to tell us what to do. And that's why it fails many people so often. And it particularly fails men when it comes to prostate cancer. And men are terrible at this type of thing anyway. But I'm really, really trying to get across that if these are the results and the PSE test are the results, even if they're high or low, what's so important is getting this thing early. It's never wrong to get this thing early, because the treatment for it will be so much easier and so much more successful, and it will almost certainly save your life. Don't rely on other people to tell you how to behave and to tell you how to treat your own health. Get out there and get it done. Ring your GP, do it now or in about 5 minutes, and say to them you want a PSA blood test and everything will be arranged, and it will be on the NHS. And if you don't want to wait for it, then go online. I went to a particular clinic. They were very good. I went to a local pharmacy to have my blood drawn, and about a week later I had the results. That's it. Get yourselves out there, because too much Too much emphasis is on, even wives telling the men to go and have a bloody test, for crying out loud. So not only do you rely on the government to maybe help you out, you rely on your other half to do it. Again, come on now, just try and be more independent. I'm really, as you can see, I'm sort of spitballing here and freewheeling and getting a bit angry over it because men die through sheer cowardice. I think that's all it is. I think they're worried about that, so they die through sheer cowardice. Now, I didn't have any symptoms when I went to have my blood test. And when I got this back, I was like, yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Didn't bother me at all, didn't worry me at all. But a lot of men aren't like me, and a lot of men aren't like other men. They are, unfortunately, rather sticking their heads in the sand when it comes to it. So please get out there. Just do it now. Get yourself tested and maybe save your life. And if you are like that, happy days. I've got a year or maybe 2 years, whatever I decide to do, before I repeat this and see what the pattern is then. But I've got no worries or issues at all about my prostate. So happy days.